Welcome. I'm Allison Kinnear, and today we are talking about those resentful yeses. There's this great quote. I'm going to read it from my phone because it's by Nat Lue, and I can't tell if it's a poem. It almost reads like a poem. If we don't say yes authentically, we say yes resentfully. And that creates far more problems than if we'd said no in the first place. If we don't say yes authentically, we say yes resentfully. And that creates far more problems than if we said no in the first place. Whew. So I remember several years ago, I was working with someone and I was having to make a lot of decisions, and he was helping me. And he said, you know, I want to hear your yeses and I want to hear your nos. Like, just, it's no big deal. Just let me know yes or no. And as we were working together, at one point he said, so I just want to stop you here. Your yeses come across really clearly. I can hear your yeses. What I'm having a hard time hearing are your nos. Like, maybe is a no. Is a no. Like, I'm having a hard time like really hearing that no from you. And at the time, this was pre-coaching, pre a lot of things, and I was like, boy, is this not a metaphor for me in my life? Yes, I'm having a hard time hearing my no. Is it okay for me to say no? Is that allowed for me to say no? I know you're telling me it is, but is it truly? Am I going to get in trouble if I say no? Am I going to create awkwardness if I say no? Like, there's a whole lot of things that come up when we have an opportunity to say no. Is it really safe to say no? And so this has been something that I have been trying to untangle for myself and untangle for my clients ever since. And I had a situation recently where, for the most part, I'm pretty good. I can definitely tell I've improved, and I am continuing to improve about it. But I had a situation recently where my intuition was like, no, this is a no. Like, you might get tempted to say yes to this, but it is a no. And sure enough, the temptations came where it was like, oh, but there's lots of good reasons for it to be a yes. And everybody else seems like, well, why not? This seems like a great opportunity. Like, everybody else was a yes. And even though I was still aware that inside of me it was a no, what did I do? I ended up ignoring the part of me that was saying this is not a good idea. And because there were lots of great reasons, there really were lots of great reasons, I chose to say yes. And I was aware, this is the thing with change, is like, you've stepped in it in the moment when you're choosing to do the wrong thing. Wrong, whatever that may be, like, you could see yourself doing it. And that was where I was at. I watched myself say yes, and it was definitely a resentful yes. And as a result, there's been cascading impacts where it would have been far easier to have said no in the first place, because there's all these secondary, tertiary issues that I could see coming, right? So this is why trusting ourselves is so important. This is why having grace for ourselves when we are making the mistake in the moment and we almost can't even help ourselves with it is important, because now the mistake was a costly one, and I will tell you, I won't be making a mistake like that again. I will remember this mistake for next time. That's the gift. That's the gift of making mistakes, right? Like, we always think, oh, making a mistake, it's so terrible. And it is. It's hard. It's not pleasant. And yet those mistakes, sometimes we learn through success and sometimes we learn through pain and suffering. And this was one of those pain and suffering moments. So I encourage you to do your best to create your own safety. You know, we sometimes rely on other people to make it safe for us to say no, but oftentimes we need to be the ones creating the space where it's safe to say no. And then when there is that knowing, that part of us that really knows that this is a no, listen to that. Listen to that. It will save you lots. It will save you a lot. And you know, that's that tricky part. Sometimes people don't know, well, is it my anxiety saying no, or is it my intuition saying no? And this is where we have to kind of get to know the voices in our heads, to get to know the parts of us that are anxious and fearful, who are always saying no to everything just because doing anything new is scary, versus the part of us that's really deep down, that really, really, really deep down just knows what it knows. And it knows at its core if it's a yes or a no. That's where that becomes important to kind of tease apart. Because when we can do all of that, then we can make sure we stay out of our resentful yeses, we stay in our authentic yeses and our no's. The no clears the path, right? When we say no, we create a lot more ease in our lives, especially when it's a genuine one. I will leave you there. I wish you a week of no, authentic no, clear no, and a week of authentic yes. And if you find yourself in a resentful yes, consider that a beautiful mistake that will help you for next time. Know that we all make them, and that's part of the learning process. Have a great week.